The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by. Where are my ad reads? Sorry about this. The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. So go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today. All right, already. Welcome back to the College Baseball Experience. I'm your host, Noah Bieniek, and I'm coming at you live, 6:27 a.m. Good morning, college baseball fans. 31 games available, all well on time, but these are the most games that we've ever had to go over. And basically, I spent the night pulling names, just there was only I think two official listed pitchers for the entire day here. So I have a whole doc on pitchers that will be throwing or I think will throw, and there were two confirmed pitchers. So just a lot of projections from me here today with a lot of stats, and I linked all of the names that I'll be using for today's podcast will be in the podcast description. So shout out to you guys if you are tuning in to listen for that, and check it out for your own. I appreciate you downloading the podcast and giving this a shot. My name is Noah Bieniek, aka 77NB. That is my Twitter tag. You can follow me there. I'll be posting my picks throughout the day on Twitter. But I figure, hey, let's use this pod to get out some pitcher projections here, and my best ability, because I'm going to be sleeping until probably 2 in the afternoon. I'm just telling you that straight up. So I'm going to be betting a couple of these just on my projections alone because I trust them enough, because hey, they fall rest wise. Hey, this is their turn in the rotation. They would be on full rest to throw to start this game. So that is what I'll be betting on most of these games with that type of information. And I don't think the people want to hear more about yesterday's games or anything like that. I'll add anything that I would like to prior to the games that I'm going to talk about, but I'm just going to sprint through these kind of. We have 31 games to talk about. The Alabama-Troy game is not going to be offered, of course, for tomorrow. The first game on the slate is UConn and Florida A&M. The Huskies are minus 440 on the money line. Florida A&M plus 330. The total set at 13.5. The run line on UConn's minus 4.5 plus 100. Plus 4.5 for FAMU is minus 130. For Florida A&M, I think that Hunter Vietz could throw. He's 8-2 with a 3.12 ERA, 78 strikeouts, 17 walks, and 86.2 innings. A 2.59 opponent's batting average, a 3.18 ERA in his last 3 appearances. And for UConn, I think that it could be Andrew Sears. He's 2-1 with a 6.85 ERA, 57 strikeouts, 16 walks, and 47.1 innings with a 2.70 opponent's batting average. In his last 4 appearances, he has a 9 ERA. So this is how I'm going to be attacking it the whole day, guys. I literally just wrote down guys that I thought could pitch. It took me about 4.5 hours to do that for the 31 games, and I didn't even write down any of my favorite plays here. I have a couple of things highlighted on what I would be targeting here. Florida A&M, I'm not sure if I'm going to end up playing that on the money line, but plus 4.5 would be worthy here because Andrew Sears has been UConn's second best starter so far this season, or throughout the season, and he's got a 6.85 ERA on the year and a 9 ERA in his last 4 games. So I'm going to write that one down here on my notebook here, and I'll review all of my early looks or leans, and then I'm going to end up betting probably half of them that I run over at the end here. So Florida A&M plus 4.5, and that is minus 130. That's the first one that I kind of like here. Shout out to Carson Bowser. He was the first one in the chat at 6:27. He goes, best time of the year. Hey man, it is. I really do. I really do think it is the best time of the year. I like conference tournaments where you see a lot of the teams play their last games of the season during that one full week. But the sheer amount of quality games this week during the regional round in the NCAA baseball tournament is just unmatched. Cole Theisen, we'll get there at the end of the show. I'll run through the rest of them. But first, I gotta run some ads. So Edge Boost, this episode is supported by Edge Boost, and if you have not heard of them, they are the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in betting advances, which can be extremely valuable. And imagine what you can do with an increased bankroll. You can get down on some of your favorite futures without tying up your bankroll for months. Double down on a bet that you like, or even use it to create an awesome middle or hedge. So all those regional futures, all those College World Series futures that you got down on here before this NCAA tournament, this is a great opportunity and a great tool that you can use. Edge Boost isn't just some sleazy loan shark, as they charge zero interest. Do you know of a way that you can access more money to place on your favorite bets without paying any interest? Support SGPN and grow your bankroll by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. And you must be 21 years or older to use it. And if you have a problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. I appreciate you guys for staying in here. Game number 2 on our slate is Northeastern and George Mason. Also, I want to mention, so if you are new to the NCAA baseball tournament, how they determine the home teams, if it's a 3 versus 4 seed, the 3 seed's going to host. However, and the same thing with the 1 versus the 2 seed. The 1 seed will host. But the way that it's determined is if a 1 seed's playing a 3 seed, that 1 seed's already hosted a game. They've already been the home team. I think I've said host every time. They've already been the home team is what I mean. So the 1 seed's already been home. The 3 seed would then be the home team, and that would be their first home game of the regional, and the NCAA just chooses to even that out rather than the host team, say Florida, for example. Texas A&M is going to be the home team. They're going to bat second against Florida, and that's for every regional that doesn't go, hey, the 1 seed's playing the 2 seed in the winner's bracket, the 3 seed's playing the 4 seed. If it's the 2 seed against the 4 seed in the losers bracket, the 4 seed's going to be the home team because they were the road team first, and the 2 seed was because they were the road team first, and the 2 seed was the home team. Hopefully, I didn't fuck that up because I'm tired and mis-explain it. But yes, Northeastern George Mason's the second game on the slate. Northeastern also Huskies here minus 500 on the money line against George Mason plus 370. Total set at 12.5. The spread is minus 4.5 on Northeastern, minus 120. George Mason plus 4.5, minus 110. Projected for the pitchers here, I have Chad Gartland. He's 6-2 for George Mason with a 3.43 ERA, 81 strikeouts, 26 walks, 89.1 innings. And opponents are hitting 243 against him. He has a 2.33 ERA in his last 3 appearances, but it's not a strong trend that I was looking at. A couple of these, they've really kind of been back and forth, hot and cold in the middle of these stretches. I'll let you know when I pretty much strongly believe in it one way or the other, whether it's good or bad to back it. And Northeastern, they didn't start their ace yesterday against Maryland, surprisingly to me. So Avon Cabral, he's 9-3 with a 2.26 ERA. He's going to be on full rest here. He has 68 strikeouts on the year, 12 walks, and 79.2 innings. He has an opponent's batting average 243, and he has a 1.38 ERA in his last 4 appearances. And the reason why I don't have this one highlighted, and again, I did this specific game 3.5 hours ago, but I think it was because of the competition that he's played against, and just the stretch that he was on. He may not have pitched too deep into those games as well. So that's just some of the reasons that I was looking at. And again, this will be available to you guys on the website when I post this podcast. You'll be able to view that, and when this podcast is posted on any streaming service for Spotify, iTunes, all that jazz. I might even I should probably put it in on YouTube too after the show too. Then the next game on our slate is Charlotte and Lipscomb. Charlotte minus 160, Lipscomb plus 130. I forgot to give out a lean or a play there. I'm on Northeastern with Cabral going. I mean, that's their ace. And the way that George Mason looked, they really didn't string together anything offensively whatsoever. I know Wake Forest is legit, but still, they just didn't show any signs of life. Minus 4.5 on Northeastern, who only scored 2 runs yesterday, but they did show some sort of fight early on. This is a team that I think could break out of the offensive slump on Saturday, whereas George Mason, I didn't see it from them on game 1. So minus 4.5, I guess, would be the lean there because you're not going to play a minus 500 on the money line, and I wouldn't parlay Northeastern either. Charlotte Lipscomb is the third game on the slate. Charlotte minus 160, Lipscomb plus 130. Total set at 12.5. Minus 1.5 on Charlotte's minus 125. Lipscomb plus 1.5 minus 105. For Lipscomb, I project that Braden Tucker will throw. He's 7-0 with a 3.54 ERA, 86 strikeouts, 27 walks, 86.1 innings pitched with a 2.19 batting average against him. He has a 3 ERA in his last 5 appearances. And then for Charlotte, Wyatt Hudepool is, I think, going to throw here. He's got a 6-6 ERA, 4.44, or 6-6 record, 4.44 ERA, 118 strikeouts on the year, 26 walks in 97.1 innings, 236 opponent's batting average against him. In his last 4 appearances, he has an 8.23 ERA. So I can tell you this, there's a huge difference between these two pitchers. One guy, like I mentioned, in Hudepool for Charlotte, has an 8.23 ERA in his last 4 appearances. Tucker, 3 ERA in his last 5 appearances. These two guys are in completely different stratospheres right now with the way they've been pitching. Lipscomb is a nice dog. I really like Lipscomb here. So they're plus 130. I'm going to write that one down for myself here on this notepad, and we'll come back to that at the end of the show. The next game on our slate is Louisiana and Maine. Louisiana Raging Cajuns, they're minus 355. Maine plus 275. A couple of these teams that got blown out in game 1, they're huge dogs, bigger than they were in the 1-seed games. I'm already noticing that. Total set at 13.5. Louisiana's minus 3.5. Maine plus 3.5. Louisiana was in an absolute dogfight with Texas yesterday. A couple of really nice defensive catches by both teams. Louisiana robbed a 3-run home run in Dallas. And Texas made a couple of diving catches out there against Louisiana. And I'm trying to find this game because DraftKings must have split up where these games were. Louisiana and Maine. I know I went and looked at all these. Louisiana, Maine. Okay, so Maine, I project that Caleb Lays is going to throw. He's 5-0 with a 4.30 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 49 walks in 67.1 innings. Opponents are hitting 226 against him. He has an 0.69 ERA in his last 2 appearances, but I don't think I valued that too much because of the competition that he faced. And then for Louisiana, Carson Fluno is going to start. He's 3-1 with a 4.47 ERA, 61 strikeouts, 20 walks in 56.1 innings. Opponents are hitting 265 against him, and he has a 3.63 ERA in his last 4 appearances. So that's pretty solid for him. But I have no interest in playing Louisiana at minus 355 here. Total seems kind of, if anything, a little bit high, but I don't love either one of these pitchers to take an under. I mean, my reads on totals right now, we haven't had totals all season long, so I'm going to have to really love it to back it here on the pod. Next game on our slate is North Carolina, minus 220 against Wright State, plus 180. Once again, the Raiders get their hearts ripped out of them. in the last couple of innings of the game. 2021 Tennessee walk-off grand slam, and then last night or yesterday afternoon, a little bleeder in the right field sets up the win in the ninth for Indiana State in the top of the inning. So one of these years, this team's going to break through, because I am a fan of the Raider gang. I didn't love the regional that they got placed in, because they didn't necessarily fit pitching wise, and the park that they're playing in, their offense just isn't that consistent, and they were relying on the long ball. And on paper, I didn't think that a ton of balls would be flying out of Terre Haute this weekend. Total set at 13.5, minus 2.5 on North Carolina, minus 125. Wright State plus 2.5, minus 105. This game, I project that Luke Stoffel for Wright State could throw. He's 5-5 with a 3.68 ERA, 60 strikeouts, 35 walks, and 73.1 innings. Opponents are hitting 255 against him, and he's got a 2.43 ERA in his last 5 appearances. And for North Carolina, Max Carlson, I think, could throw here. He's 4-2 with a 5.97 ERA, 71 strikeouts, 30 walks, and 69.1 innings. 272 batting average against him with a 5.29 ERA in his last 3 appearances. Here, I would maybe explore a Wright State money line. Plus 180, it's not terrible. I think North Carolina is going to end up winning the game, but you can't take a minus 220 money line there on North Carolina. In my opinion, there's just too much juice, and I'm not laying minus 2.5 on the Tar Heels when I can't rely on their pitching staff. One more ad that I have to do here. The NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals are going on right now, and we've got 2 contests for you for free on the SGPN app, exclusively for free on that app. You can also view series props and game props from all of our contributors picking on the website, and you could earn a $100 SGPN gift card for each contest. So the winners of each contest get a $100 SGPN gift card. Download the SGPN app today and enter those pools. And if you download the SGPN app, you can view my college baseball picks for free. What you do is you go to the main menu. You can also do this on the website, sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Go to the main menu, then hit the MLB tab. There's a drop down, and it's called College Baseball Picks. Pretty simple. The only hard part is that it's under MLB. But once you're there, it's self-explanatory. The locks next to each pick are the ones that indicate that I am betting on those plays, that I actually have money on those. Also at noon today, Campbell against Central Connecticut State. Campbell is minus 550. CCSU plus 400. Total set at 14.5. The Camels are minus 4.5 at minus 135. And the Blue Devils plus 4.5, plus 105. For Campbell, I project that Hunter Lloyd could throw here. He's 4-4 with a 4.61 ERA, 64 strikeouts, 32 walks, 66.1 innings on the year, a 2.44 batting average against him, 3.71 ERA in his last 3 appearances. And for Central Connecticut, Dominic Neiman could throw here. He's got a 2.76 ERA, 90 strikeouts, 24 walks, and 97.2 innings. He has a 2.03 ERA in his last 4 appearances. This is Central Connecticut's ace. They didn't throw him in game 1. Obviously, they got ran out of the building by South Carolina. They kind of just punted the game, knowing that, hey, we're probably not going to win against the 1 seed here. Let's take our chances against the 2 seed, against their second best starter, and see how we fare. 12-2 with a 2.76 ERA on the year, a 2.03 ERA in his last 4 appearances. They've got a fighting chance. And Central Connecticut State plus 400. It's not the worst look in the world. If you want to shorten it up, plus 4.5, plus 105 is an all right play too. I'm probably not going to go there. I just think that Campbell is still just a smoking gun. Yesterday they didn't really do anything, and I think today they could erupt on this 4 seed here that also just got blown out by South Carolina. So you got to show me a little bit of life for me to put actual money on you. So I'm not betting on Campbell here, but I think the side that if you do want to get some action on this game, it's with the Blue Devils. Also at noon, UNCW, the 3 seed, is up against Coastal Carolina, the 1 seed, in an elimination game. The Chanticleers are minus 165 on the money line. UNCW plus 135. The total's set at 15. Coastal minus 1.5, minus 110. The Seahawks minus 120 on the plus 1.5. For Coastal Carolina, they would be the road team in this game. Jack Billings is who I project could start for them. He's 3-0 with a 4.35 ERA, 47 strikeouts, 26 walks in 39.1 innings pitched. He has a 2.11 opponent's batting average against him and a 2.93 ERA in his last 3 appearances. For UNCW, Zane Taylor, who's 7-2 with a 3.25 ERA, I think could start here. He's got 56 strikeouts on the year, 19 walks in 83 innings pitched, a 2.30 batting average against him, and a 1.45 ERA in his last 7 starts. This is a guy that I feel comfortable backing, and the total of 15 seems a little high. Now I think Duke beat UNCW 12-3 yesterday. And then Coastal beat Rider Rider beat Coastal 11-10. Both games kind of went over the 15. So probably I would stay away from the total. I would just go with UNCW if you're going to play this one. Again, Coastal hosting this one. I don't think they're going to roll over and go 2 and barbecue. So I'm not going to jump on UNCW here either. Lane Elliott, he goes, to be fair, Campbell had 10 hits, 1 run yesterday. They did leave a ton of runners on base. I feel like they would put up some runs today. That's kind of my feeling on this too. I'm not going to mess with fading them here. However, I do like the Central Connecticut's ace that they held back yesterday, Dominic Neiman. So yeah, that's the thought process there. But yeah, Campbell, they made about 2 or 3 errors in a 2 or 3 inning stretch that I was just like, they gave away 2 or 3 runs. That's a lot of 2 or 3s, but it happened within a 2-3 inning stretch. And then they left the bases loaded, and it just felt like it was over in like the 5th inning when that happened. It was like 3-1. And I felt like Campbell had been playing better than NC State, just weren't getting the runs across, weren't scratching them across. And NC State was dodging bullets left and right, getting out of innings. They had a couple of double plays mixed in there as well. The next game, also at noon Eastern time, Oklahoma against Army. Oklahoma is minus 255, Army plus 205, total set at 13.5. The Sooners minus 2.5, minus 140. The Black Knights plus 110, plus 2.5 there. For Army, this is a guy that I thought would throw yesterday. He didn't. So again, Army was a 4 seed that held back their ace, Mike Ruggieri. He's 9-1 with a 2.86 ERA, 60 strikeouts, 35 walks in 69.1 innings, a 2.44 batting average against him. But he does have a 5.25 ERA in his last 2 appearances. Not in great form lately. Oklahoma, it's a complete crapshoot. They really only had 1 guy, and they used him yesterday against East Carolina, and that didn't end well either. That was Braden Carmichael. Today, I project that Braxton Dothit could throw. He's 4-6 with a 5.89 ERA, 51 strikeouts, 53 walks. He's got more walks than strikeouts in 70.1 innings on the year. A 2.36 opponent's batting average against him, and he's got a 12.36 ERA in the month of May that just ended. So not in great form and really hasn't been amazing all year long. Army seems alive here to me. They're a team that I thought could put up a fight in this regional. So that one's one that I'm gonna write down. Army at plus 205 on the money line here. So again, I didn't write down any plays or any leans that I had, I was doing listed pitchers, which took me about 4 hours, and then I'm filling these out on the fly, and then I'll give out what I'm gonna bet at the end of the show. Then I'm gonna go to sleep, probably miss most of the early slate, and then get up for the winners bracket games. Also at noon, Moneyline Max, West Virginia team. They dropped the game to Indiana. I think they gave up 6 runs in the 9th inning to completely just make it look even worse than it was. It was actually quite close for most of it. But the Mountaineers are minus 235 on the money line. Ball State plus 190. Total set at 12.5. West Virginia minus 2.5 is minus 125. Ball State plus 2.5 minus 105. Got to find this on my sheet because they mixed around a ton of these games. But West Virginia, I think they could start Ben Hampton here. He's been their normal. He's been starting most game ones, actually, for them throughout the season. Blaine Traxel's been their better pitcher throughout the year. They flipped him to Friday. He did all right against Indiana. He wasn't stellar by any means, but Ben Hampton is on full rest here. He should start game 2 for them in an elimination game. He's 5-3 on the year with a 4.17 ERA, 64 strikeouts, 29 walks, 82 innings on the year, and opponents are hitting 272 against him with a 4.16 ERA in his last 4 appearances. And then for Ball State, Ty Johnson with a 4-2 record, 3.81 ERA, could get the nod here. He's 63 strikeouts on the year, 29 walks, 49.2 innings on the year, with a 192 batting average against him. 4.91 ERA in his last 3 appearances. So both guys aren't in an amazing form as of late. So I'm not putting any money on this one unless it's on the over, which is 12.5, and it's not bad at all. That one is 12.5 is reasonable. That would be the pick here for this game from me, over 12.5. Next game is 3 o'clock, Santa Clara against Arizona. The Wildcats are minus 150 on the money line. The Broncos plus 120. Total set at 13.5, minus 115 both ways. Plus 1.5 on Santa Clara is minus 130. The minus 1.5 on Arizona is plus 100. Santa Clara is going to be the road team in this game. They could start Jared Fikes, who's 6-1 with a 5.05 ERA. 52 strikeouts, 22 walks in 66 innings pitched this year. He's got a 1.35 ERA in his last 2 appearances. And then for Arizona, I think Aiden May will get the ball. He's 5-2 with a 6.50 ERA, 70 strikeouts, 30 walks in 70.2 innings with his 3.17 batting average against him. He has a 2.70 ERA in his last 2 appearances. Both these guys have been in good form as of late, but on the season, not too good. The ball seemed to be flying in that Fayetteville Regional early. I would just settle for an Arizona money line here, minus 150. I'm personally not interested in playing it, but that's where I would go just because the total seems a bit high for 2 guys that are in form. I think it's listed for their full season, but I'm not looking the back and under with their stats on the full year, if that makes any sense. So not sold on a total. If anything, it would be a Wildcats money line here for me. 3 o'clock. This one's going to be one of the better games of the day, in my opinion. Dallas Baptist against Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are minus 150 on the money line. The Pats are plus 120. Total at 13.5. Oklahoma State minus 1.5 is plus 100. DBU plus 1.5, minus 130. For Dallas Baptist, I think Zach Heaton will get the ball. He's 4-1 with a 3.29 ERA, 52 strikeouts, 23 walks in 63 innings with a 2.36 batting average against him, a 2.40 ERA in his last 4 appearances. For Oklahoma State, Jaron Watts-Brown. He's 6-4 with a 4.50 ERA. He's probably going to have to go with their backs up against the wall. He's been their go-to guy for most of the season with a 117 strikeouts, 47 walks in 78 innings. Opponents are hitting 210 against him, but he has a 6.78 ERA in his last 4 appearances. I'd be leaning Dallas Baptist here. This is still a team that I really, really like, and I favored them to come out of the regional. So the Patriots here would be the pick for me, plus 120 on the money line. Next game, San Jose State and Cal State Fullerton. Fullerton's minus 165 on the money line. San Jose State plus 135. Total set at 11. That's quite low. And Fullerton minus 1.5 plus 105. San Jose State plus 1.5 minus 135. Fullerton was the latest game of the night. They were the last team. Them and Texas A&M were the last two teams to finish play during the night. So who knows? That could be affecting Fullerton here. And they're gonna be the home team for the matchup. I think they'd start Evan Yates. He's 2-2 with a 3.57 ERA, 63 strikeouts, 29 walks in 68 innings pitched. He has a 3.26 ERA in his last 3 appearances. And then San Jose State, Mickey Thompson, I think could throw. He's 3-5 with a 4.52 ERA, 59 strikeouts, 41 walks, 77.2 innings pitched on the season, 2.52 batting average against him, and 3.19 ERA in his last 2 appearances. Nothing that I really, really love in this game. I would favor Fullerton to win the game, but I'm not going to bet them at minus 165. I like the over, if anything, at 11.5. Next game is Xavier against Eastern Illinois. Xavier would be the home team in this matchup, and I've got to find them on my sheet here. There we go. Xavier, minus 185 on the money line. Eastern Illinois, plus 150. Total set at 12. Musketeers, minus 1.5, minus 135. Eastern Illinois, plus 1.5, plus 105. EIU, they could start Nick Laxner, who's got a 3.21 ERA on the year, 40 strikeouts, only 7 walks, with 61.2 innings on the season, with a 2.66 opponent's batting average against him. He's got a 2.78 ERA in his last 4 appearances. Pretty solid there. And then Xavier, I think they could start Ethan Bosacker, who's 7-3 with a 3.84 ERA, 95 strikeouts, 29 walks in 89.1 innings pitched, with a 2.38 batting average against him. He's got a 4.13 ERA in his last 4 appearances. This one, I feel like the under could be in play here with the way that Laxner's pitched in his last 4 games. That would be my pick here. I'm not looking to take it based on he's pitching in the Ohio Valley Conference. But that would be solid. I'm going to write that down just in case that we don't find a ton of plays today. Again, I didn't look at any of this prior to recording. I just wrote down all the pitchers that I could throw or that I thought would throw. It is over 12 in Xavier EIU. Okay. The next game on our slate is also 3 o'clock, Nichols and Boston College. BC minus 205 on the money line. Nichols plus 165, total set at 12.5, minus 115 both ways. The plus 2.5 on Nichols is minus 135. BC minus 2.5 is plus 105. This is a game where Nichols will be the home team because they are the 4 seed going up against the 2 seed. Because Boston College was already home once this regional, Nichols, they were on the road their first game. It would be flipped. So Boston College, the road team, I think actually this is one of our 2 confirmed pitchers. Celebration time. Come on. Chris Flynn. He's 4-2 on the year, 4.81 ERA. He will start this game. 56 strikeouts, 25 walks in 48.2 innings with a 2.43 opponent's batting average. In his last 3 starts, he has a 7.36 ERA. Cold hard fade. Earlier on in the season, he was like the one pitcher that I was like, you know what, he's been pretty solid for BC. I'm backing him. There was like a 4 or 5 week stretch that I bet him every Saturday, but it's gone, and he's turned into an auto fade over his last 3 starts. And for Nichols, Devin DeSandro could get the ball here. He's 2-5 with a 5.69 ERA, 25 strikeouts, 12 walks, 49 innings, and a 303 opponent's batting average, 594 ERA in his last 3 starts. What's the total? The total is 12.5. I'm taking the over here. This one's the one. Okay, this is my favorite play so far of the day. Nichols and BC over 12.5. I like that one a lot. Nichols and BC over 12.5. Next, also at 3 o'clock Eastern, Auburn and Southern Miss. These are the 1 and 2 seeds in the Auburn regional, but they're both in the loser's bracket. So the loser goes home. The winner moves on as they attempt to win 4 straight games and get out of the regional. The Tigers are minus 135 on the money line. Golden Eagles plus 105. Total set at 11.5. Minus 1.5 on Auburn's plus 120. Plus 1.5 on Southern Miss's minus 150. For this game, Tommy Vale would probably end up starting because he didn't throw game 1. Auburn threw off, and then they lost. But starting with the road team, Southern Miss, Billy Oldham, I think will get the the ball. He's 6-3 on the year, 4.64 ERA, 81 strikeouts, 21 walks, 64 innings pitched, a 231 batting average against him. He's got a 289 ERA in his last 5 starts. He's been pitching really well lately. And for Auburn, Tommy Vale, like I mentioned, he's been their ace for the second half of the year. He's 5-1 with a 3.46 ERA, 77 strikeouts, 40 walks in 65 innings pitched. And opponents are only hitting 181 against him on the full season. And in his last 5 starts, he's got a 2.79 ERA. This one, I like the under. So Southern Miss, their game against Samford in game 1 was set at 9.5, and it took extra innings, and it didn't even get to 9.5 yesterday. And Auburn played against Penn. They also went to extra innings, and this one, they didn't even get to 11.5. Now I know Tanner Hall is a better pitcher than Oldham, but Auburn's ace is on the mound, and Southern Miss is a really good pitching team, and Oldham's been solid in his recent appearances. Under 11.5 is another one that I really like. That one's probably my second favorite play that I've given out so far today. The other ones, all the way up until here, I was just, you know what, I don't know where I'm going on these. The under 11.5 in Southern Miss Auburn is a nice play. I like that a lot. So under 11.5, Southern Miss Auburn. We'll come back to these at the end here. Charles Grinstead on the YouTube live chat, he goes, is Auburn hitting bad or Penn pitching good? So coming into it, I heard that Penn had some really good arms and in specific a really good top 3 in that staff. And I can pull it up here because there's another guy that is going today that's quite solid. The only thing that I didn't love about Penn, and it's how I kind of get a read on some mid-major teams, is okay. It wasn't Penn. It was, I think it was Oral Roberts. You look at the opponent's batting averages of the pitchers, and in a mid-major conference, like if they're making contact against them and if their averages are high against the pitchers, usually that doesn't translate too well against SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC competition. Penn, they have 3 guys with opponents' batting averages below 220, and all 3 of them have ERAs below 310. It's a legit 1-2-3 in the rotation. So I took them a little lightly. I was on the Scott Berry hype story on what could be like the 3rd Mississippi team to win the national championship in the last 3 years. I kind of bought into that story. Maybe overlooked the Penn Quakers here a little bit. Getting back on track, though, also at 3 o'clock, Sam Houston against Tulane. The Bearcats are minus 190, the Green Wave plus 155. Total set at 14.5. Minus 2.5 on Sam Houston's minus 1.5 or 105. And Tulane plus 2.5 is minus 125. Where am I at on my sheet here? This one's like all the way at the top. For some reason, they must have listed the game time wrong on the book, DraftKings, that I'm using right now. But Tulane, I think they will start Ricky Castro here. And by the way, I, on Twitter, got into an argument with a Tulane grad about pitching. And what did they do? Like, he was arguing about postseason baseball, saving the arms and whatnot. LSU, first off, throws Paul Skeens 124 pitches. And then the other thing is Dylan Carmouche throws on 3 days rest. So, or 4 days rest, whatever it was. I don't want to hear it. And he blocked me, so he doesn't have to hear it. I don't have to hear it. It is what it is. Ricky Castro for Tulane is probably going to be on the mound here. 4-6 record, 5-14. Jesus. 4-6 record, 5.14 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 22 walks, and 82.1 innings with a 288 batting average against him. He's a 12 ERA in his last 4 appearances. And then for Sam Houston, Stephen Beard, I project to get the start. He's 7-3 with a 5.35 ERA, 54 strikeouts, 21 walks, 79 innings, a 299 batting average against him. He has a 6.43 ERA in his last 3 appearances. So this total's set quite high. That's the only thing that I don't love about it. 14.5, minus 120 on that. Sam Houston only scored 2 runs yesterday, and same with Tulane for that matter. Tulane faced a much, much better pitcher. Probably stay away from the... I'm not going to actually bet it, but that would probably be the pick here because I don't feel comfortable enough playing Sam Houston after them getting their socks knocked off by Oregon State of all teams, who doesn't have a huge, powerful offense. And Tulane, maybe they wake up here in game 2 because they were rolling the week before this. But, yeah, I guess the over 14.5 would be my favorite pick for that game. Moving on to the 6 o'clock slate, Eastern time. Florida, minus 165 on the money line. Texas Tech, plus 135. Total set at 12 with the under juiced at minus 120. And the plus 1.5 on Texas Tech is minus 125. Florida, minus 1.5 is minus 105. For Florida, they would be the road team here. They are the 1 seed. The 3 seed is the road team in game 1 against the 2 seed, so they get to be the home team against the 1 seed here. Florida, batting first, they would start Brandon Sproat, I believe. He's got a 7-1 record, 4.71 ERA, 106 strikeouts, 36 walks, 84 innings on the year with a 2.06 opponent's batting average. He's got a 3.93 ERA in his last 5 starts. For Texas Tech, I think it could be Kyle Robinson. This one's a tough one to project just because they've had some injuries and just some guys that haven't been trustworthy in that starting rotation. So I think this is only going to be Robinson's 7th start of the season, but he started a game during the Big 12 tournament. He's 1-1 with a 5.58 ERA, 41 strikeouts, 17 walks in 40.1 innings. With a 252 batting average against him. He's given up 0 runs in his last 6 innings. I think he's relieved in another game. So I think he started and then relieved, and that's the recent trend for him. Again, not strong, so not taking any of these really into account. If I'll put emphasis on it, if I like it. For this game, I think Florida wins. Minus 165 is not a terrible price on it at all, being that I don't even know who Texas Tech's going to throw. And Robinson was their best option. So if it's not Robinson, I think it's going to be even worse. So Florida minus 165, Florida minus 1.5. I think those are the good options in this game. Next game, also at 6 o'clock, Maryland and Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons are minus 265, the Terps plus 210. Total set at 10.5. With the run line, minus 1.5 on Wake, minus 155. Maryland plus 1.5, plus 125. For this one, I have starting with the road team. I have Nick Dean projected for Maryland. He's 3-1 with a 4.86 ERA, 73 strikeouts, 29 walks in 70.1 innings, with a 2.55 batting average against him, 2.55 ERA in his last two appearances as well. For Wake Forest, Rhett Lauder didn't pitch yesterday, so we're going to project him to start today. He's got a 13-0 record, a 1.69 ERA against him, 114 strikeouts, 19 walks in 95.2 innings, with a 2.11 batting average against him, a 2.77 ERA in his last two appearances. He's actually looked somewhat human in his last two starts. 2.77 is still stellar, but it's actually not Rhett Lauder-like. Wake Forest would be the pick here for me, obviously. But too much juice on the run line. Honestly, with Nick Dean on the mound for Maryland, minus 265 is not worth it. If anything, I like the under 10.5 here in this game. 6 o'clock, another really good game today is Tennessee against Clemson. The Tigers are minus 125 on the money line. The Vols are minus 105. Total set at 11. The under is juiced at minus 120. The plus 1.5 on Tennessee is minus 175. And Clemson, minus 1.5 is plus 140. For this game, I project that Chase Dollander, who's 6-6 with a 4.28 ERA, will throw for Tennessee. He's got 107 strikeouts on the year, 25 walks, a 2.32 batting average against him, and also he has a 5.60 ERA in his last four appearances. Hasn't been in the greatest form as of late. For Clemson, I think it's going to be Caden Grice. He's 8-1 on the year, 3.25 ERA. He's basically been their ace, pitching in the third day of the weekend for them. 91 strikeouts, 32 walks in 69.1 innings. In his last five appearances, he has a 2.41 ERA. This is a nice spot. You're getting the Tennessee tax. It's kind of like the New York Yankees, because everybody's really loved Tennessee as of late over last season and this season. And Dollander is the hot shot prospect for the MLB draft. He started off the year cold, wasn't doing great. Middle of the year, he kind of stretched it back out, and he was looking all right. Last four appearances, 5.60 ERA, going up against Caden Grice and the Clemson team. They may feel that they're not getting the worthy attention that, Tennessee still gets that pass. They have all the talent in the world. They'll come around eventually type thing. I like Clemson here. They just get the job done. They got a bunch of blue-collar guys. And at minus 125, Clemson is a good pick here for me. Clemson minus 125. Writing that down on my notebook next to me that we can go over at the end of the show. 6 o'clock, Iowa against Indiana State. Minus 115 both ways. The total set at 10.5, minus 115 both ways. And Iowa is minus 1.5, plus 140. Indiana State plus 1.5, minus 175. The pitching matchup that I have projected here for this one is Brody Brecht for Iowa. 5-2 with a 3.86 ERA, 101 strikeouts, 57 walks, 70 innings on the year, a 2.17 ERA in his last three appearances. For Indiana State, I think it could be Connor Fenlong, who's 9-2 with a 3.24 ERA, 62 strikeouts, 27 walks in 100 innings. Opponents are hitting 223 against him, and he's given up 0 runs in his last 29 innings. That's amazing. What's this under at? We're seeing it under 10.5. I think Indiana State's game against Wright State yesterday, they scored 11. I think it was 6-5 final. And Iowa, North Carolina was 5-4. I like the under here. I do. Quite a bit. Hawkeyes and Sycamores under 10.5. Under 10.5. Indiana State, Iowa. All right. Moving on to NC State in South Carolina, the winner's bracket game in the Columbia Regional. The Gamecocks are minus 160 on the money line. NC State plus 130. 13.5 is the total. South Carolina minus 1.5 plus 100. NC State plus 1.5 minus 130. South Carolina would be the road team in this game. I think they'll start Jack Mahoney, who's 6-3 with a 4.01 ERA, 74 strikeouts, 25 walks in 74 innings pitched. He's got a 5.55 ERA in his last 5 appearances, just something to keep in mind there. And NC State, I think they'll throw Matt Willitson, who's 5-4 with a 3.54 ERA, 79 strikeouts, 26 walks in 76.1 innings, 252 batting average against him. He's been their guy that throws game ones in their ACC regular season series. He didn't start yesterday. That was Logan Whitaker. But Willitson, maybe a reason why he didn't start yesterday was he has an 8.49 ERA in his last 3 appearances. So both of these guys haven't been in great form as of late. South Carolina's offense might be back. North Carolina State, I don't know what to make of, because they're a team that I want to like, and I have a College World Series future on them at 65-1. But I think yesterday was a little bit more fluky on their part on the win against Campbell than South Carolina's domination against Central Connecticut State. Minus 160 on South Carolina would be my lean here, but I don't feel confident enough to play it or that over 13.5 either, because both of these guys have been their team's number one pitcher throughout the second half of the season. So not in great form as of late, but still not looking to take a 13.5 for an over here. Next one, let me take a drink real quick first. Indiana takes on Kentucky in the Lexington Regional. The Wildcats, minus 165 on the money line. The Hoosiers, plus 135. Total set at 12.5. Minus 1.5 on Kentucky's minus 105. Plus 1.5 on Indiana is minus 125. Where is my game here on this sheet? Kentucky, Indiana. So for Kentucky, they would be the road team here in this game because Indiana's the 3 seed. For the Wildcats, I think Zach Lee could start. He's 5-2 with a 3.58 ERA, 64 strikeouts, 27 walks in 60.1 innings. He's got a 3.31 ERA in his last 3 appearances. For Indiana, actually kudos to them too, because their starting pitcher yesterday, Luke Sennard, got hurt in like the 3rd inning, and they still were able to string together some hits at the right time and knock off West Virginia. I think they'll start Ben Seiler here. He's 1-3 with a 5.72 ERA, 34 strikeouts, 19 walks in 39.1 innings. Opponents are in 288 against him, and he has a 3.60 ERA in the month of May. I just think I just think that Indiana's in a tough position here, especially with Sennard going down, and then their second best starter in Seti Manasi is already dealing with an injury. They're down 2 of their best arms here. I think Kentucky at minus 165 is the right pick, but I'm not looking to bet the Wildcats at minus 165. The total, I would probably lean. I think it's set quite good, actually. I'd probably lean over. No. I wouldn't really touch the total. I would probably lean under. Minus 1.5 on Kentucky and minus 105 actually would probably be my favorite play in this game. 6 o'clock, East Carolina and Virginia in the Charlottesville Regional. Another one of my favorite games tomorrow that I can't wait to watch. The Cavs are minus 175 on the money line. The Pirates plus 140. Total set at 11.5. And plus 1.5 on ECU's minus 120. UVA minus 1.5 is minus 110. It's the old battle of Patty C and Colby. It's going to be awesome. There should be a camera on these guys for this matchup in the office, that's for sure. For East Carolina, I project that Josh Groves could get the ball here. He's 4-2 with a 3.65 ERA, 79 strikeouts, 38 walks in 74 innings, with a 2.11 batting average against him. A 5.73 ERA he has in his last 3 appearances. And for Virginia, Nick Parker, I think, will get the ball. He's 7-0 with a 4.06 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 18 walks in 62 innings pitched. He has a 2.88 ERA in his last 4 appearances. So both these guys are in a little bit different trajectories in their last couple of starts, couple of appearances. I would favor Virginia here at minus 175. I'm not going to bet it straight. Minus 1.5 would probably be the play at minus 110. 6 o'clock. Let me check the chat, see if anybody jumped in. Moneyline Ed loves the Penn pick. Let's go, baby. Did I give it out on the show? I didn't end up betting Penn, but maybe I picked it on the show. Just said they might be live. I think I told Colby they might be live, but I didn't bet that yesterday. But props to you if you did. Shout out to Moneyline Ed, who was on Penn. Duke and Ryder, 6 o'clock tomorrow. Ryder, the 4 seed, will be the home team against the 2 seed Duke. The odds for this game, Duke is minus 500 and Ryder is plus 370. The total is set at 12.5 with the minus 130 on the over 12.5, plus 100 on the under, and then plus 4.5 on Ryder is minus 125. Duke minus 4.5, minus 105. The pitchers that I have projected here, actually Duke, it's a bullpen game with Duke. They're basically the Tampa Bay Rays of college baseball. Jason White, I think, would probably start the game, but they don't let any of their pitchers go deeper than really 3 innings. So White on the season's 2-3 with a 4.64 ERA, 40 strikeouts, 19 walks in 42.2 innings, 2.56 a batting average against him, and he had a 1.94 ERA in the month of May. For Ryder, I think that Brian Young could start. He's 6-6 with a 5.94 ERA, 52 strikeouts, 24 walks, 63.2 innings. Opponents are hitting 315 against him he had a 4.09 ERA in his last 4 appearances. The pick here would be Duke, but I'm not going to bet him minus 4.5 after Ryder just beat one of the most offensive teams in all of the country last night. And at minus 500, there's no way I'm taking Duke. In this game, I would like the over most at 12.5. Next one on our slate is Texas and Miami. The Hurricanes are minus 140. The Longhorns plus 110. Total set at 11.5, minus 115 both ways. Plus 1.5 on Texas is minus 155. Miami minus 1.5, plus 125. For Texas, I project that LeBaron Johnson Jr. will get the ball. He's 7-3 with a 2.82 ERA, 86 strikeouts, 31 walks in 73.1 innings, 2.23 batting average against him with a 2.14 ERA in his last 6 appearances. He's been on fire in his last 6 appearances at 2.14 ERA. And for Miami, I don't feel great about this projection, but Carson Ligon did make his first appearance since an injury last weekend against Wake Forest. He threw 53 pitches, gave up 1 run. He didn't look bad at all. He's 3-1 on the season with a 4.25 ERA, 34 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 48.2 innings pitched. If he throws, they've got a fighting chance. But Texas as a dog, plus 120, plus 110 on the money line, I like that. LeBaron Johnson Jr. on the mound. Give me the Longhorns at plus 110. Texas plus 110, writing that down on my notebook next to me. 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, Oregon State against LSU. The Tigers are minus 155. The Beavers plus 125. Total set at 14.5, minus 115 both ways. Plus 1.5, minus 120. LSU minus 1.5, minus 110. Listed for this game that I have, I think that Oregon State could throw A.J. Lattery. He's 4-0 with a 4.09 ERA, 48 strikeouts, 20 walks in 44 innings, with a batting average against him of 226, and he had a ERA of 293 in the month of May. He made 4 appearances during that month. For LSU, I think that Ty Floyd could start here. I mean, you start Paul Skeens on game 1 for whatever reason, but you saved the rest of your pitching staff. You only used one arm on Friday. I would think that you would use Floyd here in game 2. You win both of the first 2 games, and then you have 2 bullets on Sunday/Monday to get you out of the regional. That has to be the thought here, I would guess. Floyd is 7-0 with a 4.59 ERA, 76 strikeouts, 28 walks, 66.2 innings pitched on the year. He's got a 192 opponent's batting average and a 3 ERA in his last 3 appearances. For me here, it's LSU. I don't really believe in the Oregon State offense in general, and they're down 2 of their best starters. So Lattery has kind of been their 4th starter/reliever that can stretch out longer and be a long relief. I don't see it from the Beavers being consistent, putting up 17 runs a game like they did yesterday against Sam Houston State. So I like LSU at -155. Probably too much juice on that, knowing that Paul Skeens isn't on the mound here. And once Floyd comes out of the game, they're able to, opposing offenses, it's like, okay, it's go time. We got 3 innings to score 6 runs or however many the Tigers offense put up, and it's game time. But LSU -1.5, -110 would be my favorite play here. 9 o'clock, Stanford against Penn. We have a 3 versus a 4 seed in the winners bracket, and it's not the only scenario that we have this. College baseball is awesome. Stanford and Penn, they're -115 straight up both ways. Total set at 12, -115 also. And then -1.5 on Stanford is +120. The +1.5 on Penn is -150. Now, for this matchup, I got to find where I wrote it, though. Penn, I project them to start Cole Safiro. He's 5-2 with a 3.09 ERA, 72 strikeouts, 26 walks, 64 innings on the season, and opponents are hitting .228 against him. He's got a 6.09 ERA in his last 3 appearances. And then for Stanford, I think Brody Westbrooks could start. He's 3-3 with a 5.58 ERA, 67 strikeouts, 24 walks, 71 innings pitched with a 3.03 batting average against him. He's got a 6.77 ERA in his last 4 appearances. So both of these guys not really in that great of form. Total set at 12, but we didn't get there in either one of the games yesterday. Both offenses here from both teams didn't put up that many runs themselves. I think Penn scored 5 and Stanford scored 2 or 4. And they had 1 through 9 innings. I would lean over here, but I don't know. Give me Penn for the podcast. Give me the 4 seed. I like the story. 9 o'clock, Texas A&M against Stanford. The Cardinal are -130 on the money line. Texas A&M +100. Total set at 14. -1.5 on Stanford's +120. The +1.5 on Texas A&M is -150. I think Justin Lampkin will start for Texas A&M. He's 3-3 with a 5.62 ERA, 74 strikeouts, 28 walks in 57.2 innings pitched. He's got a 213 batting average against him. In his last 4 appearances, he's been great with a 2.66 ERA. Stanford, on the other hand, I think they'll start Matt Scott. He's 5-3 with a 4.68 ERA, 57 strikeouts, 30 walks in 59.2 innings. A 2.18 batting average against him on the season, and he has a 5.24 ERA in his last 3 appearances. The whole point about Stanford is that we're just a little bit nervous about how much depth in this pitching staff behind Quinn Matthews they actually have. Texas A&M, if Lampkin's on the mound, wouldn't be a bad play as a dog. Plus 100 would probably be my pick here on A&M. A&M plus 100. Writing that down next to me. 3 more games on the slate here. Washington against Oral Roberts. This is the other 3-4 matchup for the winner's bracket final. Washington's minus 120. Oral Roberts is minus 110. Total set at 12.5, minus 115 both ways. Washington minus 1.5 is plus 120. Oral Roberts plus 1.5 is minus 150. The Golden Eagles, I project Harley Golert to start. He's 10-1 with a 3.27 ERA, 82 strikeouts, 29 walks in 82.2 innings, 234 opponent's batting average, and he has a 2.04 ERA in his last 6 appearances. For Washington, I think Kiefer Lord will get the ball. He's 6-5 with a 5.60 ERA, 75 strikeouts, 17 walks in 72.1 innings. Hitters are hitting 264 against him, and he has an ERA of 17.48 in his last 3 appearances. You just can't back that. I can tell you that for one. Total set at 12.5 in Stillwater is really enticing, but Oral Roberts at minus 110 would be the look here for me. I'm writing that one down as well. Oral Roberts minus 110. If Kiefer Lord's on the mound, he just has not pitched well lately. 2 more games, 9 o'clock as well. Oregon and Vanderbilt. The Vandy boys are minus 165 on the money line. The Ducks plus 135. Total set at 12.5. Minus 125 for the plus 1.5 on Oregon. Minus 1.5 on Vanderbilt. Minus 105. Oregon, I think, will start Turner Spoljaric. He pitched great in the Pac-12 tournament final. He's 6-0 on the year with a 6.32 ERA. He's got 29 strikeouts, 18 walks in 47 innings. Opponents are hitting 317 against him, and he had an 8.72 ERA in May, along with that good start in the Pac-12 tournament championship game. For Vanderbilt, Hunter Owen is healthy. They said he's going to pitch at some point this weekend. Why not on Saturday here? I think he's their next best option. So I put him as my projected starter. He's 4-0 on the year, 3.15 ERA, 72 strikeouts, 17 walks, 60 innings, with opponents hitting 209 against him. In his first start back from injury, he threw 3 innings, gave up 1 run to Florida. In all consideration, it was not a bad start at all. Then the final matchup of the day is TCU and Arkansas. The Hogs are minus 165 on the money line. Did I give out an opinion on that game? Oregon, Vanderbilt. I like Vanderbilt on the money line. I think they win the game. The pick here, I guess, would be on Vandy minus 1.5 at minus 105. Last game, TCU, Arkansas. The Hogs minus 165 on the money line, plus 135 for TCU, 11.5 both ways. Minus 1.5 for Arkansas is plus 100. TCU plus 1.5, minus 130. We have a confirmed pitcher for this game. One of the 2 confirmed pitchers of the 31 games. Arkansas will start Hagen Smith. But reading off TCU first, they will be the road team in this game. Cam Brown. He's 3-2 with a 5.25 ERA. I think he's going to end up starting here for the Frogs. 55 strikeouts in the season, 33 walks, 48 innings, 208 batting average against him. And in his last 3 appearances, he has a 2.81 ERA. For Arkansas, I mentioned it would be Hagen Smith. He's 8-1 with a 2.69 ERA, 102 strikeouts, 38 walks, 67 innings. Opponents are hitting 199 against him, and he has a 2.80 ERA in his last 4 appearances. For me, minus 165, again, just a little too juicy here. If anything, if you're going to play Arkansas, that would be my pick. I would like them minus 1.5 plus 100. And the over 11.5 seems enticing as well for this game. So just ran through all 31 games on the slate. My favorite angles for the day are Florida A&M plus 4.5 minus 130, Lipscomb plus 130 on the money line, the over 12 in Xavier Eastern Illinois, Nichols and Boston College over 12.5, under 11.5 in Southern Miss Auburn, Clemson minus 125, the under 10.5 in Indiana State Iowa, Texas plus 110 on the money line, Texas A&M plus 100 on the money line, and Oral Roberts minus 110. So those were my favorite plays here on this podcast. I will tweet out everything that I play prior to me crashing here in the next half hour. I appreciate you guys for listening to the show. Make sure you, if you're going to bet these games, know that the pitchers aren't confirmed, and these were my best guesses. I'm not trying to steer you guys wrong with all these projected pitchers. So if you're betting them right now, I feel pretty good about most of them that I announced here on this pod, and that will be in the description of this show. But just know that it could be changed. And if it is, like, I truly believe that the best option for the team to throw was me announcing whoever I did for that game here in this show. So just know that if you end up betting it and the pitcher that throws is not the guy that I mentioned, it's all just kind of up in the air right now. We don't know. And most of it doesn't get put out until maybe like an hour before the game on the team's social media. So that's the number one way to find out, in my opinion. That's what's worked best for me throughout the year. So good luck with all your bets. Have a nice weekend. I'll be here again tonight/Sunday morning for the loser bracket games. And yeah, I think it would just be loser bracket games. The slate would be cut in half, so it's not nearly going to be as long of a podcast. Thank you all for joining. Follow me on Twitter at 77NB. I'm always terrible at ending these shows. Follow the show on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. The Sports Gambling Podcast Network has a ton of great podcasts for any sport that you're interested in betting. I encourage you to check it out. Number one way to do that is download the app, the SGPN app, and you can also view all of my picks, college baseball picks, for free on that website and app. So it's on the MLB tab. Under that tab, college baseball picks. You can view them for free. I'll be uploading those right after this show. So last time, thank you for listening. With that, I bid you adieu. You've been experiencing the better side of college baseball with the College Baseball Experience. Adios, amigos.